JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. September 30th, 2024, Monday, the last trading day of the month, last trading day of the third quarter. Should be a fun one. I'll talk about some of the stocks I'm looking at, some of the overall market and go from there. But first off, take a look at the futures down just a little bit, just a hair. Overnight was an epic night, I guess you would call it, for Asian markets again. Um, Shanghai index was up 13% last week and then rallied another 8% overnight, its biggest daily gain in over a decade. And an interesting stat, and I posted in a chat room, I forget who posted on FinTwit, but not one stock on the Shanghai was red yesterday. That's unheard of. Very remarkable. Who knows if that continues? I mean, there was a little concern last week when the rally started on the supposed bazooka stimulus that uh, maybe this was short-term move, but the longer this goes on, the more you have to think maybe some of these China ADRs will just continue to rally. Had Alibaba get an upgrade this morning. Baidu's up near 110 this morning, so should be interesting. Also this week, so there's a couple things on the start of the third quarter, which is tomorrow. So Fed Chair Powell speaks at 12:55 today, uh, in front of some association, but he'll give comments around the jumbo rate cut. So probably more impactful than last week's prepared remarks. Then we also have the JOLTS report tomorrow, Nike earnings after the close tomorrow, and then the September jobs report on Friday. I think that'll be one of the data points that certainly could move markets into Friday. But you take a look, markets are up SPY's up 7 of the past 8 weeks. Closed in the green last week, despite Friday's mixed market. Have to think at some point maybe there'll be a little more consolidation, especially if we get selling today and tomorrow, then maybe we'll get just a little pull heading into the end of the week. So I'm not saying I'm not bullish or don't think we can break that 575 handle. Just kind of a little cautious here. Also, overnight you had the Nikkei selling off. I was talking about it Friday. You had the election of somewhat surprising candidate who's probably not does not bode well for the at least short term for the markets for them, right? It's the policies that he wants to put in place are not bullish for for the markets. So you saw the Nikkei down over 4%, but the China, what's going on in China pretty much just cancels that out and then some. So I was saying that on Friday. That was my concern that maybe Asian markets would sell off with the Nikkei, but looks like it's a non-event for now. All right, so that's the overall market. Also, so 575 and 570 were the two areas last week. Now I'm worried 570 and 565. At 568 was an area, but it doesn't seem like that was holding. So we'll have to see how that all plays out today. I always the small caps were outperforming on Friday. I would love to see a continuation today. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. Small cap futures down 0.5%, while the S&P is down 0.25%. Maybe that reverses at the open. Would be nice. All right, so overall, some individual names. So first, I got those Biogen calls for the bounce. Finally, I think it trades north of 200 quickly, especially if the market holds its ground. It's pretty much at a double bottom since April. I look at some of these mega cap bio names. Biogen's one of those names that's had some nice runs in the past. It seems like pretty much anything negative for the stock has been priced in, and I think it's ready to bounce. So real like Biogen got those calls, went all the way up to 197 in the mid-afternoon, well, early afternoon, and then gave back some of those gains. Still closed in the green. I think it trades north of 200 this week. I was talking about getting strikes to encompass earnings, which should be at the end of October. I got the closer strikes, but I might look for some November strikes today, depending on how if it shows some strength. BIDU. What else to say here about BIDU? I closed more of my calls out for a little over 1,200% on Friday. Just it's one of those names I've traded on and off, and especially recently, I traded that pincher back in the summer for that nice move, and then we're getting it again here today. I was getting questions: are you slocking in your calls in? But I always use that analogy, like the first 100% is great, right? But to get the 1,200 to 1,500 to 2,000% gains, you have to hold, and the easiest way to hold is obviously lock some in so you ride in free, takes the emotion out of the trade. I mean, to hold an entire position on a possible binary event, China markets could have sold off over the last night. Baidu could have been back under $100. Thankfully, that's not the case. But I'm probably this is it. I mean, if it's at 109.50 here in the pre-market, my calls will be probably $10, so it'll be over 2,000% or so. I'll probably just lock the last couple in at the open and then just remove that and go from there. I talked about on the rant on Friday. I added WYNN strikes in lieu of getting more Baidu strikes because I think WYNN is more of like an under the radar play. Could be a little more volatile. Could trade more to the upside. So that's what I'll hold on to. All right, so that's BIDU. So I'll probably just close those out at the open. If it breaks 110, it keeps going. Maybe I'll get some spec calls for 125, 130 if this China theme plays out for the next couple of weeks. So that's WYNN. BIDU, here's WYNN over its 200-day moving average on Friday, which was 91 and change. I mean, it gapped and ran, closed pretty much right at the highs of the session, 7% to the upside. If you don't, the story is Macau. Macau is one of the biggest revenue margin driver for WYNN. If that economy starts to go, you have to think WYNN is probably not even priced in for a recovery in that area. So, it's gapping up here at 98 and change, close at 97. If it breaks over $100, I might look for some more spec calls as well. But I'm gonna look to lock some of my calls that I added on Friday if they're over 100% to cover costs and ride the rest. Really like the WYNN story here as a kind of like a complementary play with some of these other China ADRs. SE. So, I still have a couple of my SE calls. It closed in the red slightly, down 0.5% on Friday. Its first red session in, I guess, 8 or 9 trading days. Not saying I want to see it pull back, but if it does pull back, I'll look to get some strikes to play for that eventual move over $100. I think the more I look, the more I think it's going 110, 120, and possibly earnings might be the next catalyst for it. So, depending what those strikes look like, if it does pull back, I might get some calls to encompass earnings, which I think will be sometime towards the end of November. So that's SE. Not much here to add on Redfin. Disappointing on Friday. I was hoping for continuation from its Thursday. It reversed $1 in the afternoon. It looked like that was it and was going to continue. It fizzled after the open on Friday. The chart still looks like higher highs and higher lows. So as long as that trend continues, I think $15 coming soon, then 1760. I'll add more strikes over 15. Not much here to add on Corbis. Just want to see Corbis CRBP. I want to see Corbis hold that 20 handle. I locked some of my 25s into cover costs. I would love to do the same on the 30s. Still think this heads over $30 in the coming days and weeks. Dell, so disappointing. Similar to what Redfin was doing. Great session on Thursday. And then Friday, you had HPQ come out with some concerns around its margins. And again, Dell becomes a margin story, which it did back in its earnings 2 quarters ago. I still, the market doesn't like it, but I'm like, I just don't understand how people look at Dell and think that it's going to be a zero margin story for its AI servers. Not going to add any more strikes here just yet. You start looking at it technically has a death cross on the daily. The 50-day moving average moved under the 200-day moving average, which is technically a death cross. Not the most bullish setup there, but maybe that reverses. I don't know if it's going to come down and test 110. If it does, I'll look for more opportunities to play Dell for upside. Roku got another upgrade. I was looking to get some strikes into this week. I passed. I don't know how much the upgrade is going to do for it right now. I mean, it's trading up just a little bit here in the pre-market. If it does show strength at the open, maybe I'll look for some spec calls, play for a move over $80. I was looking Friday. I kind of passed. It went all the way up to 76, even with the market showing weakness on Friday, and then gave those gains back into the close. Don't be surprised if I add some spec calls on Roku. And then now on the flip side, so if the market finds weakness, if the SPY starts trading down near 565 or starts heading towards that, I might look for spec hedge puts, probably in one position, maybe. ServiceNow looks interesting for a move down to 840. Look at Lam Research, was weak on Friday after a nice bounce from the start of September. Maybe that trades down under $800, so I might look for some spec puts there. And then last but not least is Visa. A nice 2-session rally. Thankful to have locked all my puts in. If that starts to reverse and breaks back lower, I think it trades into the low 260s, if not lower. So that could be another nice hedge put trade. I think that's about it. So Fed Chair Powell, 1255. Yeah, let's have a great day. We have about 26 minutes to the open. Rock and roll.